I remember my audition, I kind of just closed my eyes and prayed to myself as I always do, and then just kind of went straight into whatever the script was. I had remembered my mom has been giving me tips my whole life too, as I went through school in terms of how to speak, how to project, and then I obviously spoke with her before that audition, and just remembering the tips that she gave me, the tips that my dad gave me as well, being someone who has written many speeches in his life, being a pastor and someone who has worked in politics.
What's up, everybody? Back with another banger here with Off the Field. I got special guest Shane Fordham. Shane, you see Shane on Channel 13 News. No Shane with Shane. You see him. He's the owner and creator of Saber Sports TV. How you doing today, bro?
I'm good, bro. It's been a minute. Super excited to get a chance to talk to my boy again, man. It's been a while.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So before we get into everything, bro, how did you even start your journalist journey? Because you started at Hampton, created Saber Sports. So let's talk about the whole process of how you even got here to today.
Well, I mean, journalism has really been a part of my life for as long as I can remember, because my mom, she was actually a reporter and anchor, before I was even thought of. So I grew up kind of watching her on TV doing her thing. And I always thought that was the coolest thing in the world, seeing my mom on TV when I would come home from school and stuff like that. And I guess I kind of always had that love for journalism, but eventually throughout my college career, of course, my time at Hampton, it kind of allowed me to grow that love for journalism. That's kind of where my passion for journalism took its real first step. And I just combined that with my love and passion for football and sports and kind of just made a path for myself out of it.
So was that like your plan B that you really didn't think was a plan B, or is this, or how did that come about? Because I know it was always football, and then at the cut, I see Shane doing journalism. I said, okay, cool. So
yeah, I mean, it's every kid's dream to go pro. That was the goal. Every time we went to practice, every time we had a film room session, team meeting, that was always the goal in the back of our minds is, all right, what can I do? What do I need to do at this step to go pro, right? I mean, I don't know if I talked to you about this, but I had a strange collegiate path. Freshman year, redshirted as normal. Then we have the pandemic. My sophomore year, don't really get to play. Then coming out of the pandemic, our first season, I tear my Achilles that summer. And then which made it even harder for me to kind of earn that playing time after for my senior year. So kind of a real bumpy road, and it's clear that the Lord had other plans for me. And that passion through everything I was going through, in addition to the family stuff, seems like we're dealing with similar issues with losses, people getting sick, kind of dealing with all of that in combination. My love and passion for the game never faded. The Lord kind of exposed another door for me to walk through that still allowed me to be a part of that sports and journalism world and realm. And of course, during Hampton, I kind of used that passion to create Saber Sports. I knew journalism was going to be serious for me as I was continuing throughout the curriculum at Hampton. And I wanted to find and create a way where I could get myself that experience, create that experience for myself without having to wait for someone to give it to me, right? Because it's a competitive field. It's a hard field to break into. And I wanted to be able to create my own opportunity where I could get the experience and gather the tools that I needed in order to just establish myself in the field. When it came to my editing skills, because journalism for a reporter involves different things: editing, speaking, writing, and Saber Sports allowed me to kind of hone all those skills in. But something it kind of grew into was also a path for others, an opportunity for others, my team, to be able to perfect their craft as well, which really motivated me even more to expand Saber Sports to what it has been as of late, airing on.
you spit some juice. So you saying you started Saber Sports just because you want to work in your editing, you want to work in your journalism, and really just break into that field, break into that door.
Right.
And now you saw it as a way to actually help other people do the same thing that you wanted to do.
Yeah, because when I first kind of, I guess, thought about doing it, of course, I would run it by my friends in that scripts building, the journalism building at Hampton. And a bunch of my friends were excited by the idea too and wanted to be a part of it. So that, of course, excited me. And then as we kind of went through our building and structuralizing phase of the show, creating the fabric of the show, I was beginning to see how it was not only helping me and being beneficial to me, but it was also helping those around me get that experience in the different areas of journalism, whether it was for people trying to be on camera in terms of reporting or anchoring, or if it was people trying to be behind the camera, more so in the production area of things, the writing area of things, the social media even area of things, all the different elements that go into operating and creating a show. It was really providing experience and developmental steps to my squad as well. And that motivated me even more to just put my all into it, not just so that I could help myself, but so that I could help those around me sort of get to where they need to be or get to where they want to be. And actually looking back at it, seeing the many people that have kind of passed through the squad, I mean, just holding me aside. I mean, some of my people are now producers for news stations. They've gotten internships with companies like The Athletic and different newspaper companies, allowing them to just get different opportunities and internships that they actually credit Saber Sports for as a part of helping them get to what they have been able to accomplish. Not saying Saber Sports is the only reason these people are successful, because I've had the opportunity and the blessing to be able to meet and work with some of the most talented Hampton students ever, in my opinion. Just some very creative and smart and hardworking people. I mean, coming from their words, which I never would have imagined when I first started this journey, first starting down this road, they'll say Saber Sports played a big part in the fact that they have the experience that they do. And that honestly means more to me than what Saber Sports has allowed me to do myself, because it wouldn't mean as much to me if Saber Sports only helped me. But the fact that I was able to create something and help develop something that was able to help those around me who believed in my vision and kind of took on the vision themselves, that really means the world. So I definitely credit my team for all that I've been able to accomplish as well, because Saber Sports isn't Saber Sports without us. It's not just a me thing. It wouldn't be what it is without everyone putting in their own sort of different perspective and contribution to the show that made it great.
We had Hampton pushing Saber Sports with you, right? And
Right.
they was able to use their facilities and you was able to use their equipment. How big of a difference now you doing your own thing with Shane? So how big of a difference is having the help of the school versus not doing it on your own?
I think the help of the school is what has helped prepare me to be able to do it on my own. You know, like they go into scripts, they teach you the basics, but then after teaching you the basics, they allow you to kind of use what you've learned in class to in like a real time experience, which was another idea for Saber Sports. And then, some of the other programs within that building, kind of offering students that safe space to be able to apply the tools that they learn in class to their own projects. So I think what I learned at Hampton, at the Scripps Howard School of Journalism, it kind of gave me that foundation and that focus to be able to apply to my own thing now in No Shame with Shane. Things that I learned from Hampton, things that I kind of, skills that I kind of crafted and developed more so through Saber Sports, now being able to apply that same sort of energy, dedication to my very own platform in No Shame with Shane.
So you've been at it for a while, bro. So what tips could you have for the up and coming journalist that wants to do it their own way? Because now social media has given people a platform to create their own thing. And they'll have to do the regular industry way. So what are some skills and tips that you can give back to the next person?
I'm still learning myself. I don't want to hold myself to as if like, I'm here and this is how you get to where I am, because compared to many others in this field. But what I would say is don't be afraid to create. Don't be shy to create. Don't think that your voice is something that people won't be interested in hearing. I think that's something that people struggle with too, thinking that they don't have the credibility to be able to speak on different things. But like you said, we have the tools that we have to within our grasp now when it comes to social media, even our phones being cameras and everything that we have have access to, especially if you are going the college route where you are learning in buildings with this equipment that is at the student's disposal. I would just say, don't be afraid to create. Don't be afraid to not only have a vision, but to also follow that vision. I think it really just comes with, I think the confidence is the first key. Just really believing in yourself and believing in, just the fact that you can accomplish what you want. That's something that me and my team learned together. We don't have to wait for others to give us certain opportunities or create opportunities for us. We have the ability to create that ourselves.
So can you share a story when you realize, like, okay, because everybody, I feel like everybody goes to the lack of confidence, definitely when it turns to creating and putting something online and putting something for people to view. So what was one time that you was lacking confidence and then you realized, okay, people actually like this stuff. People actually like my content. They like what I'm putting out.
I would say my first sort of steps in developing Saber Sports. When you have an idea, there's always some folks that try to give you the negative to how that could go wrong. And that's also the type of thing that people need to learn how to ignore as well. Don't let the negative sort of outlook on your vision distract you from what you think is possible or what you know is possible, right? I think that was important for me to not focus on the how this won't work sort of advice and tips that were given to me, as opposed to focusing on, okay, what can I do to make this work? What am I able to do to make this work? So starting Saber Sports, there was kind of, for those who aren't really familiar with that field, it can seem, creating a show is difficult. It is complicated, but I feel like complicated and difficulty can often be confused and misconstrued as impossible. Just because something is complicated, because something is difficult, doesn't mean it is impossible. And it really just applies to that saying, that mindset, that whatever is difficult or uneasy to do, it's more worth doing. It pays off more once you complete that goal. The fact that you had to overcome certain steps, certain obstacles in order to achieve your goal, that goal means more. So I would say that was one thing. I'm glad that I was able to do that with the help of course, my friends, being able to not focus on the challenges of what we were able to do, but focusing on the positives, focusing on, our strengths, allowing our strengths to kind of, one, use our strengths in tandem, but then also to reaching our goal, and I think kind of applied that same mindset to creating my podcast. I was kind of coming up, as a younger college student. I was hesitant because I would see my friends have some podcasts and things like that, having platforms for themselves. I was kind of hesitant to create something of my own because I was, a little shy, just thinking that I don't think anyone would want to hear what I have to say by myself. I don't think anyone would care what I have to say by myself. Now, Saber Sports helped me kind of break out of that shell. The news team at Hampton, WHOV, helped me break out of that shell, kind of allowing me to get my feet wet and getting me more comfortable with putting myself out there. I always had the interest. Seeing my mom on TV, I always had the interest and thought that was really cool. But imagining yourself doing it and actually doing it are two different things. Doing it for the first time was scary. I remember my first audition for WHOV, auditioning to be an anchor / reporter. I was nervous out of my mind. That was my first time being in front of the camera, really, in that type of fashion, because I was actually more of an editor before I was a on camera person, so, it was nerve wracking, but as I kept going through
take us back to that moment, bro, because listen to you. I remember in the moment when I just sat in front of the camera, I'm like, what am I going to say? So take us back to that moment, how you felt through all that.
So WHOV is, the news team at Hampton. That was more so me making my on-camera debut, right? It wasn't me kind of creating content, because you're discussing news, right? You're discussing events that are going on in a refined fashion. So it's not as much creating content as Saber Sports and as No Shame with Shane. So that was simply just getting in front of the camera as a start, which was scary. Luckily, I had friends in WHOV who were kind of mentors to me as well. Names you probably know: Sarah Avery, Jonathan Scott, people, older students who helped the young sophomore or young junior at the time kind of getting comfortable with that sort of style of speaking, with that type of comfortability being on camera. So I remember my audition, I kind of just closed my eyes and prayed to myself as I always do, and then just kind of went straight into whatever the script was. I had remembered my mom has been giving me tips my whole life too, as I went through school in terms of how to speak, how to project, and then I obviously spoke with her before that audition, and just remembering the tips that she gave me, the tips that my dad gave me as well, being someone who has written many speeches in his life, being a pastor and someone who has worked in politics, kind of just using those skills that I discussed with my parents, and then just getting into it, kind of going through the script. I remember my heart was beating 1,000 beats per minute, it felt like. And, fast forwarding to maybe the end of that week, I got the call that I had made it, that I was selected as an anchor, not something I was expecting, but something I was thankful for. Then now that I'm in that role, I'm doing my first official show for WHOV, knowing that this is going to be airing all over campus, some areas out off campus. That was my first real live experience. And, I remember my friends who were producers at the time in my ear, in my just telling me to calm down, just telling me to take a breath. And it really just took repetition in order for me to get really comfortable with it. And that's really the key, is repetition, just continuing to work on your delivery and the way you are enunciating and pronouncing words and emphasizing certain things, really telling that story to the people watching at home. And so then that kind of gave me the bravery now. So at that point, I'm now comfortable being on camera, at least more so than I was. And that really gave me the bravery to having the passion that I did for sports, especially for football specifically. That gave me the bravery to then get started with the Saber Sports project, talking with my teacher, Professor Heffron, on how we could do this possibly even during class time, which he was kind enough to lend us during his TV production class. He said, well, you know what? We can use the TV production class for Saber Sports. That'll be the production that we work on for our class credit, so that helped a lot, so I was not only getting more comfortable on camera, but I was getting more comfortable talking about sports on camera, because talking about sports is what we would always do in the locker room. I mean, we would always do in the locker room, in the calf, in that little section we would sit in the calf, so I was already used to having those conversations, analyzing those different topics and players and things like that. So it was now combining my knowledge with the styles and techniques that I had learned delivering news. So now I was able to comfortably deliver my sports knowledge in the refined sort of journalistic way that I had learned from WHOV and of course my classes at Scripps. But yeah, it was scary.
I didn't even know being on the news channels, they give you a script of what you have to say. And podcast it's a whole different feel, because now you can just flow and just. So what do you like better, and what do you see the biggest differences in both the news versus having a podcast?
I mean, I don't know which one I would say is better. It's hard to beat talking sports, right? It's hard to talking sports is just so much fun, especially with, my background coming from sports. I probably am a little more passionate about talking about sports, but I think being in the news realm specifically, outside of sports, I think being those stories, being able to, deliver those stories is what helps me in sports. I think because even though you're reading something, you still have to be able to tell the story in an interesting way. You have to know what to emphasize in what you're saying, what the most important details are. And this is just coming from an anchor perspective. As a reporter, a lot of that is off the cuff because you don't have a teleprompter with you out there in the field. That's just all off the dome. You're reciting information the people need to know in order to get your point across. But I would say the story delivery that at least I've learned while doing news related stories, I think is what has helped me become a better storyteller in sports. Being able to describe that information, whether it's in a debate fashion or whether it's more of a report fashion where I'm telling a story. I think working both in news and in sports, I think they both go hand in hand for me. And I think working in one helps me, I think, perform better in the other, if that makes sense.
Definitely. So now we moving on to off the field financial trivia. So off the field financial is a 4-step system where we teach athletes, coaches, and entrepreneurs how to make more money without having to get another job. So these next questions are going to be tailored towards the off the field financial trivia. You ready for it?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Do you know what the rule of 72 is?
Rule of 72. Nah, I can't say I do.
All right, cool. So rule of 72 is 72 divided by the interest rate, and that's how long it's going to take for your money to double. So our financial products did 24% last year. So 72 divided by 24, it takes your money 3 years to double. And that's the fast way how you can see your money. How long is it going to take for your money to double? Yeah. Do you know the
Yeah, I didn't know that. See, I needed this too.
That's what we is, boy, my boy. Do you know the difference between term and whole life insurance?
Nah, I need you to tell me that one too, bro.
I got you. So term is basically just a temporary period. You can't build cash value into it, but they're saying if anything happens to you, get sick, accident, pass away, they're going to give you a lump sum of money to make sure that you're good. Maybe it could be $1 million, $2 million, whatever that policy is for. And it's for a low amount. So maybe you can get like a policy for $1 million for only like $40, $50 a month. It's low, but it's only for a short period amount of time, 10 to 30 years. For a whole life, you're protected for your whole life, but it builds cash value. So have you heard the term of becoming your own bank?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
become your own bank. So now you can borrow from yourself. You can take a loan from yourself. And let's say you have $50,000 in that account. You want to take a loan from yourself, borrow the $50,000. The account is still going to make interest and grow interest like the $50,000 is in account, even though you have in liquid cash. Cool thing about it is it's tax-free and you can never take a loss because it's modeling the stock market, but you know the stock market goes up and down like a wave, but it's basically saying, hey, we're going to guarantee that you can't take a loss. So you only ride the wave when the stock market goes up. You don't go down with the stock market. So that's
Nice.
yeah. So that's when people say become your own bank. So do you have a retirement plan right now or not yet?
I mean, I'm into the 401k plan, at work, just
Mhm.
kind of, which I thought was important, kind of just planning for, saving, for ahead. I know that's definitely important. That was the first thing my parents told me, before I signed the contract that I did, was Shane, make sure you set up your 401k plan, so that you are building towards your future, not just enjoying what you have now, but building towards your future, which is especially important for professional athletes. But yeah, I mean, obviously you would know better than me.
Yeah. Hey, 100%, 100%. Your parents 100% right. That's the most important thing, that people don't have money saving towards the future. They just worried about the now. But I will say about the 401k is you can take a loss in your 401k. So what we help people, we roll their 401ks over to an annuity where it's safer from you, it's tax-free, and just a lot of other benefits because you can't take a loss in it. So we're gonna get you right, man.
Yeah, get me right, bro.
Yeah. So let's get into the current events, bro. Like you got the NFL combine right now. You got trade and free agencies. It's crazy out here. And me, I'm an Eagles fan, so I'm hurt about the Darius Slay. They dropping Darius Slay. You think that was a good drop, a good release, or you think they should have kept him around a little bit longer?
Overall, I think they should. I mean, you know me. I'm a bird. I bleed green too.
Yeah.
I definitely pro Slay. I think they should keep Slay, but I don't think that just because they released him, that means that he's gone for good. Because if you remember, the Eagles did the same thing with Fletcher Cox a couple years ago. They released him in order to kind of restructure his contract to make room for, some of the other guys that they ended up bringing in the Javon Graves, being able to pay guys like Hassan Reddick, Kazir White, CJ Gardner-Johnson, guys who helped us win Super Bowl, that year and helped us to be a consistent playoff team after that. So I think Darius Slay is gone for good. I that it's more so, at least what I'm hoping, I think it's more so a restructuring thing because he plans on retiring after this year anyway, which is exactly what Fletcher Cox was doing. That was the plan for him, so I don't think it's a coincidence that we are seeing the same things happen with Fletcher Cox the year before he retired. And now Darius Slay, the offseason prior to the season that he says he plans on retiring. I think doing this allows them to restructure his contract to be able to afford a guy like Myles Garrett, who is definitely on the table right now for the Eagles. He's for the Eagles, someone who has openly expressed an interest in playing in Philly, so I really think that's more so what it is. I don't think it's an offloading thing. Now, James Bradbury is a different question. I
Get
think
him
James
outta here.
Bradbury. I think I think Bradbury. I think Bradbury is going to be out for a minute. I think
Yeah.
he's gone. But I do think the plan is to bring Slay back once they have that sort of restructure in place to then be able to afford a Myles Garrett. Once that trade goes through. But I mean, both parties want a reunion. Slay has openly said he would like to play his last year as an Eagle. He'd like to retire as an Eagle. And I know the Eagles definitely value Darius Slay and what he has brought to, that organization. So I don't think Slay is gone for good.
Okay, I hope not. But do you need Myles Garrett, bro? Because our D line last year was crazy. Do you need Myles Garrett, or do you let one of the Georgia young bulls get up out of there, try to trade up for something better?
If in terms of trading for Myles Garrett, I'm definitely not trading any of those younger guys, let alone the Eagles. I'm not letting none of the Georgia Eagles go at all. I'm not letting Jalen go, not letting Nolan go. I'm really not even letting Nakobe Dean go, because I think Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond they were really a top 2 linebacker duo core this year, during the regular season. So I'm not willing to trade for Myles Garrett if it means trading away one of those young starters, especially Zach Bond, who was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate this year. But I would definitely pursue Myles Garrett if it was for some draft picks, 100%. I think if you have a D line now that was, a Super Bowl winning D line, so good. The Eagles didn't have to blitz one single time in that Super Bowl, having 6 sacks, 16 pressures, I believe, leading to 1 interception, before the second half. I definitely think this D-line is great, but you add Myles Garrett to a unit like that, I mean, there's just answer that any offense would have, especially having the secondary and the linebacker support that unit has as well. Guys like Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship, and then having Zach Bond and a healthy Nakobe Dean back there. I think it would really be unstoppable in a unit. So I mean, imagine a D line with Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis in the middle, or Milton Williams, and then you have Nolan Smith and Myles Garrett coming off the edge.
Crazy. I mean,
bro, I think that would be ridiculous. And another motivation to make that happen would just to simply prevent Myles Garrett from going to Washington, because Myles Garrett in Washington, it honestly keeps me up at night. Like, it's a nightmare of mine in my dreams. Like, that would be another reason to make that happen. But I mean, I would still rather see Myles Garrett go to the Commanders before bringing Myles Garrett to Philly in exchange for a Nolan Smith, especially Jalen Carter,
they say
Quinion, any of those young guys, Zach Bond. I would still rather that than trading away sort of the core pieces of this young defense. Because you got to remember, this is the Eagles. They're not only the best defense in the league right now, but they're also the youngest, which is an extremely rare thing that these guys are able to grow together, starting off on a dominant note. So, yeah, I mean, I think Myles Garrett would be great, but not if it costs us, some of those core pieces.
So what I'm hearing from you, we going back two times. We about a two-peat.
I'm not gonna lie to you. We might three-peat. I know that's a hard thing to judge, but I mean, I could at least not necessarily, even if we don't win, I could legit see us going to the Super Bowl the next 2 years in a row. I mean, it's just like it's an unstoppable unit on both sides of the ball. Like, and on top of that, we're keeping Vic Fangio as the defensive coordinator. Like, I mean, it was tough for us coming off 2022 Super Bowl year because we had 2 fresh new coordinators, 2 really, Matt Patricia, who was really just one of those Belichick guys, coming in, and then, first Sean Desai first, who didn't know what he was doing. The coordinator for the Eagles 2023. I forget his first name, but Johnson coming in, also not knowing what he was doing. So, but I think this year is different because at least keeping Vic Fangio, one of the best defensive minds in the game, we know our defense is going to be on one again, this coming season. It's going to be interesting to see what this offense looks like having another OC come through the building, but at least it's a guy that has been a part of this system. It's an inside hire, so that makes me feel a little better. But it's hard to screw up an offense with Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, a Hall of Fame O-line, and Dallas Goedert at tight end. So it's hard to mess that up. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles make it back to the Super Bowl for the next 2 years. I honestly think the Eagles will be the next dynasty.
I
With how young we are, how much talent we have, I would be shocked if the Eagles are not the next dynasty.
So you said the Commanders and Myles Garrett, that's keep you up at night. So let's talk about Deebo Samuels making that Deebo Samuels. What you think about that? You think he washed though? 49ers trying to get up there though. Do you think he's washed up, or do you think that's what Jaden Daniels really needed?
I think Deebo was on the verge of being washed. He was definitely washed. He was definitely looking washed towards, the second half of his season last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if there is anyone who can revive his career, give him a second chance, it's Jaden Daniels. I mean, Jaden Daniels, if he can make Zach Ertz, Austin Eckler, if he can make those two guys look like Pro Bowlers, if he can pick apart a defense with guys like Olamide Zaccheaus and Diami Brown, guys who weren't, really big playmakers heading into the season, I would be surprised if he's able to make something shake with Deebo. You know what I mean? Now, in regards to the Eagles, I don't think Deebo is, something the Eagles should be worried about because, Deebo's not going to be able to do anything against Quentin Mitchell. He's not going to be able to do anything against Cooper DeJean. I think our secondary personally is too good for Deebo to really make a huge difference. But, at the same time, I do think, just because of the Jaden Daniels factor, I do think that Deebo is in for a better season than what people think. I mean, even though he's one sandwich away from looking like Eddie Lacy, I do think that with Jaden Daniels, I think Daniels factor is just so important to me. I do think that this could be, I think this is what Deebo needed. And I think, it's a tool that also the Commanders could make use of as well.
Yeah. And I grew up in DC my whole life. I never seen the Redskins or Commanders be this good. So now it's like watching them try to rebuild and watching them trying to do something is crazy to me. And Deebo really could be that missing piece only because he spreads out the offense. Now he's not the number one receiver. Now you got Terry. Now you got Terry and Deebo. I'm not sure, but they need a running back. They need a backfield. Their backfield needs to be upgraded if they really want to try to make a run for it.
I don't know. I think their backfield is the problem. I mean, at least when they're healthy. When D-Rob is healthy, I mean, that's a back that'll give you an extra 5 yards after contact, almost every time. It's going to take.
He don't got no wiggle to him. He needed he ain't breaking nothing for 60. He ain't breaking. If he does, he has to run them over, and he just he beats the safety over. He ain't really breaking nothing he don't got that.
I see what you're saying, but I think that's what makes Austin Eckler a good compliment in that backfield too. Because he is able to do more of those things, kind of coming out the backfield. Kind of being able to maneuver both in the run game and the pass game. And then Jeremy McNichols has shown to be a pretty solid third option, kind of in rotation as well. So I mean, the backfield could use more work, but then, the work Jaden Daniels does on the ground too, I think makes it easier for them as well. But I think the Commanders needed another deep threat, not so much a Deebo Samuel, but more of a Brandon Ayuk, more of a T. Higgins. I know he's off the table now because he just got franchise tagged today. But I think if we're talking the Commanders getting a T, getting a Brandon Ayuk, I think that is more of a eyebrow raiser than Deebo personally. But I mean, they still got plenty of time to still acquire some guys, and they got plenty of money to bring in some guys too. I mean, they have one of the highest, I think they're one of the teams that have the highest cap, the most amount of money to be able to spend this offseason. So I mean, they got time. They plenty more moves left to this summer.
So talk about, it's a heavy running back class this year. So they can pick up some people off the board. Who's really standing out to you in the running back class that needs to get off early?
I mean, you have the obvious Ashton Genty, Amari in Hampton, Travion Henderson, the kid out of Arizona, Cam Scattaboo, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, just a head down, nose in the face type of runner. But honestly, I think Bashal Tootin will be a from this year's draft out of Virginia Tech. I mean, dude dominated. He really looked like one of the best backs in the combine this year. I mean, ESPN has him ranked at 17, but according to, experts, he's seen as really like the 5th or 6th best back out of this class. Running a 4.3.2 at the combine, finishing with the fastest 40 time, the 10-yard split time, the highest vertical jump. Like, he's a back who can be physical, but can also just demoralize the defense with speed. I mean, we're talking about just pure breakout speed. I mean, that helps that could be helpful to an offense in the pass or in the run, and we know the Commanders are a team that likes to do a lot of that likes to run a lot of the little kind of scat back plays, kind of allowing Jaden Daniels to be a little more creative, allowing their running backs, like if they can cook a defense with Austin Eckler coming out the backfield, I think they could do serious damage with Bill Tootin. But I mean, his current fit is, any team could use a back like Bashal Tootin. I mean, just that'll be the steal of the draft, in my opinion. Kind of like one of those dual threat running backs, a guy who can be physical, run through contact, but also burn you with speed.
Now, if you're a GM, are you taking Cam Wood or Shedeur Sanders?
Bro, honestly, I would probably take Shedeur.
Shedeur?
Yeah, I would probably take Shedeur.
Why though?
Only because I think he's used to, once dominating in college and going to the next level, like that can be a tough transition for a lot of guys, especially at the quarterback position. Like Caleb Williams is a good example of that. He was used to having almost 6 seconds in the backfield to throw the ball, really being able to just hold on and having more time to be able to create some type of magic, or whether it was with his arm or with his legs. Totally different story in Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes having 2 seconds, maybe less to throw the ball, having to make quicker decisions. I think Shedeur Sanders, he benefited this year in Colorado by having one of the worst O-lines in college, because even while having a O-line, he was still able to make things work. He was still able to make plays. And that's going to be something that he'll need in the NFL, because he's going to have to make decisions quick. He's going to have to know when to leave the pocket quick.
I didn't think you was gonna go there on me, Shane. I didn't think you was gonna. As a
QB, like things can happen on a dime, and you gotta know. You have to know when to leave the pocket, when to get the ball out of your hands, but also when to stay in the pocket and maybe take a hit. I think playing in Colorado, he has shown to be able to do those things. So really, his transition to the NFL, I don't think will be as abrupt, because it's really just going to be like how it was for him in college, as opposed to Cam Ward having a better O-line, having when it comes to the NFL as opposed to college. Because the biggest difference that guys will say, at least offensive guys will say, when it comes to the difference between playing in the NFL and playing in college, is the fact that the separation in the trenches is a lot quicker. Like the D-lines, the separation that the D-line gets on the O-line is so much quicker in the pros as opposed to college. That's where QBs have their toughest time, is trying to read the defense, trying to find holes in the defense while having to evade and react to the pressure of the D line quicker.
Like you said, that time is just having it quicker. They getting faster by a year. But it's crazy you said that, bro, because I vote for Cam. I Cam over Shedeur, but I was just watching them throw it. Like their brother, Shedeur brother, he has his media company, so he was filming Cam. So I'm thinking, okay, Shedeur got a little more aura. I like how the ball was coming out of Shedeur's hands, but when you put it in that factor, Shedeur did throw the ball almost twice as much as Cam did. The O-line was, Shedeur ain't want to throw him under the bus, but they wasn't the best this year. Like, we all can see it, Yeah. So when you put it in perspective like that, it's like, I like Cam, but I understand why people would pick Shedeur too.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Cam is a playmaker.
Mhm.
I definitely think, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what he does. I just think, I don't know. Shador, he not only has the training in terms of dealing with pressure, just being Dion's son, being
Mhm.
Coach Primetime's son, he also knows how to operate under pressure game wise, because I mean, a lot of the ways, like you said, Shador had to throw more times than Cam, but
Mhm.
I mean, Colorado was clearly had some success this season, which
Right.
was mainly off of his arm because it's not like they had a strong run game,
Mhm.
So that was, I mean, the success they had was mostly off of Shador's arm,
Right.
and so I think he's due. I mean, if anyone is used to playing under that type of pressure, is Shador. So I mean, I think Shador would be, if I'm a GM, that's what I would be looking at the most, especially if I'm Joe Shane. If I'm
Mhm.
the Giants GM and I already know I have a number one receiver threat in Malik Neighbors, I would
Yeah.
be trying to pair those two immediately.
Mhm.
I would be trying to pair those two immediately. You give Shador Sanders a true number one receiver and really a too shabby supporter group in receivers, with
Mhm.
Darius Slayton, the can't pronounce his last name. But there would be their third option on the
Mhm.
Giants. And then you got Singletary coming out the backfield. You
Yeah.
have
The young one.
yeah, that's
Rich,
what, yeah, I was thinking about him
yeah.
too. I forget what's his name again? He's
Ah,
he the season as
yeah.
RB2, but he took the starting job as
Yeah,
the
hold on,
season
I
progressed.
got
He had a solid season too. But I mean,
Mhm.
this is a Giants team that has
Trey.
yeah, Tracy. Yeah.
Mhm.
This is a team that has some solid pieces where if you get the right QB back there, I
Mhm.
mean, you could see something similar to what the turnaround the Commanders had this season.
That's
Not
true.
saying the Giants, not saying you count on the Giants to make it to the conference championship, but to at least have,
More than
you know,
one win left. More than two
yeah,
wins.
I mean, yeah, at least definitely be more of an explosive offense, a team
Mhm.
that is capable of at least making the wild card,
Mhm.
because and then you also got in my opinion, one of the best D lines in football in
Mhm.
New York too, with Brian Burns,
Mhm.
Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, that's definitely something to work off of.
So we talking about the new faces coming into the league. Let's talk about the old faces that's leaving the league. We got Aaron Rodgers. Do you think if he continues to play, will his legacy be ruined, or do you think he still got some years he can kind of bounce back from?
No, I think he's done. I think anything he has left in the NFL would just be to mentor a team's young QB for the future. Like
Mm.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers is leading a team to the playoffs anymore. I do feel bad for Devontae Adams though, because I feel like people see him, he just got released from the Jets today. I think
Mm.
he is now viewed as a guy who is more on the washed side of things, an older guy, just because of his output last season. But I mean, that's how I think Aaron Rodgers is. Aaron Rodgers is so washed, he could make a guy like Devontae Adams look washed.
Yeah.
So, and I guess touch on Devontae later, but yeah, I just don't Aaron Rodgers making a comeback. If
Mm.
that's what you're asking. I don't.
It was like if he continues to play, it could ruin his whole legacy. Like
Yeah.
he had a
Well,
great career. Like you see it a lot of times. If people stay in the game too long, they just gonna remember the bad years from him. It's like you should know when to bow out. You should know when to like let's say because I was looking at his stats. His stats wasn't terrible, but it's not the stats that we really know A-Rod should be putting up as A-Rod. So he's put up to a higher level, a higher pedestal than an average quarterback. So I feel like you should keep your name and keep your legacy as the highest quarterback. And if you continue to play, of course, your age plays a part. It's not like he's Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady won the championship his last 2 years. So unless he's with that championship team, I feel like him continue to play could only just hurt his legacy.
I mean, I think it's fair to say maybe hurt his legacy. I don't know if I would say destroy though. I mean,
Hmm.
Aaron Rodgers is a four-time MVP. He's won a Super Bowl. Like, I don't think continuing to stay in the league would destroy his legacy. I mean, I think he's still going to be seen as one of the greats, one of the definitely most talented quarterbacks of all time. But I don't know. I would say him continuing trying to play would be destroying his legacy, just because we know we know what prime Aaron Rodgers looks like. We
Mm-hmm.
know what Green Bay Aaron Rodgers looks like. So, I mean, I don't know if it would destroy. I don't think it would destroy his legacy, but I definitely think it would just be a stain for sure.
Mike Tyson, did that hurt his legacy? You think that hurt his legacy?
To be honest with you, I wasn't seriously anyway. Like I don't like I think people are looking at that type of thing as more of a amusement factor now. Like I don't think anything Mike Tyson does, including the Roy Jones fight, like I don't think anything Mike Tyson has done after that point will ever in anyone's mind take away from the greatness of who Mike is as
Big
an athlete.
Mike.
Yeah,
So
I don't
now it's just like, all right, Mike, you just doing it for the bread type thing.
Yeah, like we like this is real. Like we
Yeah.
like this is, you know what I mean? This is, I mean, those dudes get paid like, I mean, life-changing money just for losing.
Yeah.
Just simply losing.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's not from the iconic stature of Mike Tyson in my
Mhm.
mind after seeing something like that. It's just I it's I can't, I don't like, and I think other people would agree. I don't take that seriously enough to then hold in comparison to his true career. Like who we know as one of the greatest fighters of all time in Mike Tyson.
But you gotta realize though, it's a new generation. So now you're seeing the kids, so you got some kids seeing that's the first Mike Tyson fight they ever seen. They can look at it as a different view and a different perspective than somebody that we watched. That was our fighter really growing up. Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather. So like we know what they really could bring to the table.
Yeah, I mean, I think in that sense, I mean, I think that's just a generational thing. But I mean, we know what the history books say. I mean, Mike Tyson, he's up there with the Alis, he's up there with the Fraziers, with the Foremans, you know, of course, with the Mayweathers. Like, I mean, Tyson is he's one of not just the greatest fighters of all time, one of the greatest athletes of all time. Like, he's in that realm. He's in the class with Jordan, Phelps, Serena. Like, Mike Tyson is in that. He's sitting at that table. I don't think anything he does, you know, in the 2020s era of, or even 20 teens era of fighting, I don't think anything he does is going to take him out of that conversation.
So before we get you out the show, bro, we gotta talk about our former guest Lamont Roach Jr. shocking the world against Tank. What do you feel like Tank won that fight? Do you feel like Lamont won that fight? What do you feel? Do you feel like it was money going on? That's why they had to run it back. Like, what are your feelings on that fight?
Honestly, I didn't watch the whole fight because I was actually working at the time, but I did hear there was controversy. Actually you have to explain to me exactly how that went, you know, because I didn't really get a chance to look into it, you know,
So
over a few days.
they was going back and forth, you know, first 3 rounds, they was really feeling each other out, so it wasn't really too much punches thrown. Then once they really got into the fight, got comfortable, now they both going back at it. You could tell like Lamont really took this fight serious. You could just tell from his body, him working out versus Gervonta Davis' body. It's just like, all right, he could tell he got a little comfortable in the spotlight. He really wasn't training as hard as he should have been training for this fight. Or I'm not even gonna say you could tell Lamont been training longer. Maybe Tank got a late start on his boxing and then start training, but you could tell Lamont been in the gym longer. So everything Tank he was hitting with, it's a counter. So it's like my personal feelings, I think he won the fight. But there was this one controversial time when he said grease was getting in his eye from his hair, and he took a knee. If you take a knee in boxing, that's knockdown.
You down.
Yeah, so the judge, right? So the judges didn't even put that on the scorecard. So now the judges ain't marked that as a scorecard. They stopped the whole fight. He had to wipe his face off. Cool, go back to it. But actually, I think Lamont won the fight, and even he thought he won the fight because towards like the end of the last 10 seconds of the fight, now Lamont just like, all right, I won the fight. Like, so he's not really trying to throw too many punches because now he's like, all right, let's let the clock run off. But the judge card said it was a draw, and I think they did that because honestly, the money into it. I didn't realize they said the top 2 sales Barkley history. So of course they're gonna want to run that back, and people thought he was going to get knocked down in the 4th, 5th round. I'm hearing all the speculation. They was like, Roach fighting Tank? No, he on a different class. So me personally, he cut out all the noise, cut out everything, and he shocked the world that night.
You know, I think that definitely could have played into the fact that they want Tank and Keyshawn Davis to fight. Like that's really what they are trying to play to. Like that's something I've been hearing about, that's been talked about a lot. I think that's the big fight that they want to set up, so it would kind of play into that role. Like, all right, if we give Tank this L, that'll make it harder for us to put champion against champion, because right now Keyshawn has right now, so I think that kind of plays a role into it too. Tank being who he is, being the, seen as like the guy, being the in boxing right now. I think that's part of what's going into it too. They want to be able to put up, winner against winner, champ versus champ. And, you can't do that if he's losing to Lamont Roach, so I definitely. But I mean, Lamont Roach, I agree with, from what it sounds like, Lamont Roach definitely had that. If you're type of body shot where, you force Tank to his knee, that's definitely, it sounds like he did get bailed out of that. But he's not going to be able to get bailed out against Keyshawn.
Yeah.
He's not going to be able to get bailed out against Keyshawn. But I actually back, like, when this, because I'm positive fight is going to happen. Like, I actually want to come back once this is set up and talk to you about it, do a little follow-up, because that's going to be an interesting one to talk about.
For sure. We definitely going to have you back on the show, bro. Well, I appreciate you for coming on today. Anything you want to say to your fans and supporters out there that's watching?
I guess just I don't think I'm at a place where I have fans yet, but to my supporters, I definitely want to say thank you, to anyone who was watching, just for sticking with me, for supporting me throughout this journey. And that goes for viewers as well as people who have been, with me on my, team and in my, corner, kind of helping me with the production, for the things I've been doing. So, just all the supporters who may be watching, I appreciate you. And, I'm just gonna keep working, like my boys Zay here, and just trying to grow myself and grow my platform.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.